Good morning. As we get started today, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Marlene Hoffman, Marketing Manager at Three Will. I am going to be taking over for Danny Ryan as he transitions to a different position. It's Thursday, December the 17th, and today I talk with Bruce Harple, the VP of Delivery at Three Will. We're going to be discussing Power Platform for Citizen Developers. Enjoy. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
Hey, Marlene. Good morning. Very good. Excited to be here and to talk about this topic of Power Apps and citizen developers. So, yeah, very excited.
Very good. Well, I'm excited to hear your presentation.
So, I guess the genesis of this presentation, is my background. Is originally, I go way back, right? So I'm a legacy programmer, which means, I'm a COBOL and assembler programmer. For those that even remember what that is or was, back in the day. And obviously, I've been away from that, technology base for a long, long time. But one of the things that I wanted to do as kind of part of our personal growth goals at Three Will, I really wanted to kind of dive into, Power Apps, right? Kind of get back to my roots a bit. And what intrigued me about, Power Apps and the Power Platform is, Microsoft, touts it as a platform for, I got it in quotes there on the slide, citizen developers, right? So the idea, for Microsoft is that, business users who want to innovate, can actually use this platform and use Power Apps to build apps. So, that was kind of what drove my interest is that whole concept of, can a business user really, pick this tool up and run with it?
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, so what I have, Marlene, is I've got some slides I'm going to go through. Then I'm going to switch over and actually show some things in Power Apps, and then kind of come back to the slides, and then we'll close things out. Does that make sense?
That sounds great. Thank you, Bruce.
I'm just going to scroll through it, and certainly, Marlene, as you have questions as I go through it, stop me, and I'll see if I can answer your questions.
Okay.
And so here was kind of the agenda, what I wanted to cover, kind of, why did I do this? What was the genesis of it? I talked a little bit about that. What did I kind of go over? What did I do to prepare for this? Go through my demonstration, and then really, it's really kind of share insights. What did I learn from this? And what might be valuable to other clients that are out there, other organizations, based on what I learned. So really, just trying to share my learnings. So, and here's my objective, right? It's really pretty basic, right? I really wanted to prove, can the citizen developer, can a business user really pick up the Power Platform, pick up the Power Apps, and build apps? How simple is that, right? That was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to share a little bit of insight into my preparation. So, this little table kind of, I wanted to kind of share what I did and kind of my time investment, which. Yeah, if you look at my overall time investment, I didn't invest a ton of time, maybe 30 hours in total, going through the preparation, actually building my app, tweaking it some, adding a Power Automate, a flow at the end. Not a lot of investment. And I kind of, what I started with is really one of my goals was to pass the PL 900 exam, which is really kind of a Power Platform fundamentals exam. It really covers the entire Power Platform, right? Power Apps, Power Automate, AI, the chat bots. It really covers the entire platform. But really, and a lot of what I did is I focused on, the Microsoft Learning content out on Microsoft's site, which is incredibly valuable. Leverage Pluralsight, which is a learning platform that we use internally at Three Will. And, of course, YouTube. There is tons and tons and tons of videos out there on YouTube. So that was really kind of, where I invested some time. And then you can kind of see that the time I spent kind of creating the app and, playing around with it a bit, and then really trying to extend the app and then adding the flow at the end. But I will say, I didn't spend a lot of time, really diving into Power Apps. I kind of just dove into the tool and started using it, which, in retrospect, may not be the best way approach. I probably should have maybe done some more specific, training on Power Apps, but I was anxious to kind of dive in, so I dove in. So, that was kind of the prep I did. And then, what I was going to do demonstration wise is what I did is I created something called an employee engagement survey, and I ended up leveraging a Canvas app, template, and a Canvas app and Power Apps, is really kind of, you can think of it as starting from a blank canvas, right?
Hmm.
And then you're kind of painting on that canvas, right? So I'm adding controls on that canvas and kind of building out my app. I'm attaching it to a backend data store, um, and then creating the app. And my backend data store was Excel, and I picked that because in our experience as we work with business units and business users, they all use Excel. That's kind of their core platform, and that's what they use. So I thought that was appropriate for me to kind of take that as my data store. And as I mentioned, I added a workflow via Power Automate. So what I'm going to do now is kind of end this and see if I can't switch over. All right. So I think Marlene, you looking at my Chrome browser? And
I can. I see that. Thank you.
yeah, yep. So sorry, it took me a while to get there. Yeah. So this is the home page, and inside of Power Apps, and some of the things you can see here. Here are the different data sources that you can use to connect a Power App to. You can connect to a list in SharePoint. We're going to look at what I've done is in Excel. You can actually connect to a relational database like SQL Server, and Microsoft has a data store that you can leverage called a common data service. It's got a lot of built-in entities and attributes that you can tap into. You can add your own entities and attributes. So it's really kind of a relational platform that you can extend and leverage. A lot of things you can start with there, and then you can see the different types of apps. Where they have Canvas apps, which is what we're going to look at. There's something called a model-driven app, which really kind of builds an app from your data store or from a database. And then there's a portal app, portal apps tend to be more of those external facing apps, a customer facing, vendor or partner facing application, right? So there's different types of apps you can create. And I'm going to go in here and here's my app, this employee engagement survey. And what I'm going to do is just start out and I'm going to just run the app so everybody can kind of see what the app does. And it is a simple survey that walks through a series of questions. So you can kind of see it's the three-wheel employee engagement survey. And I'm just going to click on get started, and you can see it tells me it's got 5 questions it's going to ask. And you'll see I've done this so there's different types of controls. So here you can see radio buttons. So it's asking me what my practice is inside of three-wheel, and I'll say I'm part of the innovation practice. And this is a multi-field select type thing. And here it's saying, am I proud to work at three-wheel? And of course, I'm going to select definitely, absolutely, love it here. And then just kind of, a silly question to ask. But the reason here, I just wanted to show this slider control, right? It's an out-of-the-box control, which is kind of cool. So I can say, yeah, I work 16 hours a week. And then do I see myself working here? I hope so. And I'm just going to say, hey, I love it. Love it, right? At three-wheel. I'm going to select next. And then it's just say I'm done. And I have a little button down here to submit the survey. And we'll see that actually, sends an email when I click that submit button once it processes. So, that's the app, right? Pretty simple app. So let me kind of show you what's behind the app. So I'm going to go first to the data store in Excel, which is here. Hopefully it will refresh. There we go. And really what I've done here, and actually I started with a template, which was really nice. I got a jump on this app. There's actually an engagement survey template. You can see my email just came in, notifying me that a survey had been completed. And so what it is I have a tab here with questions that I want to ask, and the questions are numbered, and you can see the Power App column here where it's connected to the app. So I can dynamically add other questions here. That's the reason I did this. And then the options are kind of the responses. So for question 2, right, you can see, there were different responses that appeared in that UX. And, they have their own ID as well, 1 through 5. But these were all the responses for question 2. These were the responses for question 3 and question 4. So again, I can make this more dynamic. And then my responses are captured over here. You can see there's a test response there. And then there's another sheet where I can have some other text that can be used to drive the app. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, but I did this so I could actually, ask more questions, provide more answers through Excel, right? Pretty simple way to do that. So I go back to the app now, and actually let's just look at the app. So if I go in and edit the app, we can see kind of what it looks like, inside of Power Apps. And it's just kind of loading that up, into the canvas. And that will take just another minute. Yeah, so here we go. So you can see this is my first page, right? And it was, and I picked a mobile device as the how I wanted to kind of create this app. So it's created as a mobile app, but it is a mobile responsive app. So it would work on a tablet, it would work on a browser, as and that's what you saw inside of what I went through was in a browser. So this is my canvas in the center here. And to the left, it really just shows all the different pages, right? So there was a home page, there was a landing page, and then each question, right, is a separate page, right? And this just helps me. The left-hand side is really kind of my navigation. And you can see kind of within each, if I hit this button here, it then has, all the objects, on that page are laid out, right? So I went to another question there. So you have all that detail. And I'm going to go back to question 3 here, or question 2. And so the other thing is on the right side over here are all the properties, right? The things that drive what's in this canvas, right? And you can see real basic properties around, what font am I using, what the size of the font is, any kind of styling, the alignment, the coloring, all the kind of basic kind of things. And in this, if I click on the advanced button, this is where it's now, there you can see this lookup field. You can see it here at the right, and you can see it across the top up in here. This lookup is where it's pulling content from Excel. So it's pulling from the sheet that said questions, and it's pulling question ID number 2, right? So this is where it's connected to Excel through this lookup feature, right? And the same thing, the questions are driven the same way. It's really pointing back to, that spreadsheet, right? The second, the option part of that spreadsheet. So, and then I can, if I wanted to insert, let's say I wanted to insert another control. So if I hit this insert, you can see all these controls. There's labels, buttons, text. Like I can do a rich text editor. I can add that, which is here. So it's kind of small, but you can kind of see the controls here, right? To make it a rich text editor, which is kind of cool. That's easy to do. So you have all these controls. I can connect to other data. I can create a form, different types of media, images, and things like that, right? I can connect in. I can add a picture. I can add audio. I can do a barcode scanner. There's a lot of things I can do. I mean, so a lot of capabilities, right, as far as building out what's on this canvas. But now I will say, so I mean, even looking at this, it's probably not something that's easily intuitive to a normal business user. You do have to be willing to poke around and try some things. You can really see that to make this work, you probably do need some level of training. And again, I started with a template, and I'll tell you one of the challenges I had when I was trying to add additional questions. Like if I tried to add a question 6. I can come in here and I can actually duplicate this page and create another question. But what I found out is when I started creating more questions, when I tried to connect it all back to that Excel spreadsheet, it was difficult. It was not intuitive for me to find that connection. So
Right.
just a little bit about kind of what it looks like inside of Power Apps. And what I want to do now, Marlene, is I'm going to go back to my slide deck, and we'll see if if I need to reshare. Nope, looks like it kept it. So let me do this. I think I had one more slide, which is really just to kind of share my insights. Let me pull that up. Yeah, so here's kind of, I tried to summarize, what I learned, right, and what might be valuable to others, right. So one of the things is, as I was going through training, right. So as you can imagine, Microsoft 365, it's a cloud-based, platform, which means it's changing all the time. I mean, the good news is, Microsoft is continually enhancing the platform, continually adding new capabilities and new functionality. The bad news, if you're trying to learn something, is as you go through training, a lot of the training I went through that was recorded a month ago, even, some of that training was outdated because the platform changed. So I had to go to the platform and say, well, they were clicking on this and doing that, but I don't see that on the platform where it got moved. Mm-hmm. So, for me, the lesson learned, the insight is, ideally training is more hands-on, right? Something that's kind of guiding you through the platform as it is today. Right. From a business user perspective, I mentioned it's not totally intuitive, right? Oops, let me go back. I hit a button. It's not totally intuitive, right? So, I think for any business user to pick Power Apps up, it would hire that third bullet is it would help if you had experience, right? Previous experience with some kind of, UX or HTML creation tools in the past, right? Mm-hmm. To understand the concept of a canvas and be able to, add, controls to that canvas, being able to connect it to a back-end data store. I mean, it's not simple, right? And not always intuitive. That fourth bullet, templates are key. I mean, I started with a template, right? And there were still challenges for me in modifying that template. But I think for a business, for an enterprise, to kind of turn this loose on, citizen developers, I think it would be valuable to create, kind of starting templates that were specific to your business and specific to your enterprise, because it's going to help a business user get started. Right. So, templates is key. I mean, and Microsoft's done a great job, but you can create templates as well for your enterprise. Mm-hmm. And one thing I will say, so, the template I picked was a survey, right? So, it kind of walked you through a flow of a series of questions. But I will say, Power Apps is really good. I said for basic, CRUD operations. So if I wanted to connect, the Power App to just a SharePoint list or just a simple Excel list, and I wanted to enable the ability to create and add a new item to the list, to view the list, to read the list, to update the list, or delete something from the list, to connect a Power App to a basic list and to do basic CRUD operations, incredibly powerful. And that is more that's easier than what I just went through. Mm-hmm. So to use it for that basic CRUD operations, very powerful, right? Right. The next bullet there. Yeah, you'll definitely, for an organization to, turn this out and release it to their business user population, they're going to need coaches and support for sure. No doubt about it. People are going to have a lot of questions. They're going to need support in creating these apps. But, the foundation is there. It's very powerful. You can do a lot, but they'll need those coaches and support. And we always say this, and everybody says this with Microsoft 365, governance is critical. I think you want to control it. You want to control who gets access to it. You want to make sure they get the right level of training. You want to make sure they have coaches and people that can support them. And then the last bullet there, I mean, it requires a significant investment of time by the business and by business users, right? But I think the good news is, proficiency will scale, right? The more time you spend with it, the better you're going to get at it, the more, the more proficient you're going to get at it, and you'll be able to create more and more apps. So I think the ability to scale is there, but it's going to require that upfront investment by business users. So I kind of went through that quickly, but I wanted to kind of, share a little bit of what I learned and what I did and really kind of share these insights because I think that's what could be valuable for others.
Right. I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm excited by the platform. Oh, the one thing I will say, and I didn't really show when I added the workflow. So I did add a workflow at the end of that when I hit that submit button. It actually sent me an email, and I got that email in my inbox. And I will say, the Power Automate piece is really very powerful and very easy to use. I found a template to let you just sends an email notification, right? And I just picked that template, created it, sent an email to myself saying a survey had been committed or submitted, and I attached it to that submit button inside my app. So adding the Power Automate piece was very, very easy. So that part of it was easy. So lots of opportunity, but I think you got to go after it in an organized and structured way. I don't think you want to just turn the business loose on it. It really is designed, I think, for true power users. And I know there are. I mean, we know in our experience there are business users that want to innovate, and they're smart people, and I think they can take a set of tools like this and do a lot for their business. And so I think empowering people to innovate is great. It's what we believe in. I think this platform can get you there, but definitely requires an investment. Definitely requires governance. And definitely requires support of those business users. So
that sounds great.
Yeah. So I mean, anything else, Marlene, that you again, I enjoy doing these and enjoy sharing kind of what I'm learning. And it was a great experience for me. I mean, I'm glad I invested the time to get my hands on the platform, especially Power Apps. That was where I targeted. So learned a lot.
Hey guys, just to sort of peekaboo on you here in the end. Sorry about that. Just wanted to wrap up this podcast, and Marlene's going to be hosting the podcast for us in the future. So appreciate you doing that, Marlene, for us. And Bruce, thanks for continuing to do these really informative walkthroughs for us and staying on top of this. I think in the upcoming years, enabling those citizen developers is going to be a really important thing for our clients. So thanks for doing these podcasts quarter after quarter. Appreciate it. So
you bet.
Thanks everybody for listening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Work Together Better podcast. We're available on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you're looking for a partner to help you craft a modern digital workplace on the Microsoft Cloud, please come by and see us at 3will.com. That's the number 3 spelled out, WILL.com. Thank you and have a great day.